What's up guys, Ruppy here, and it's team builder time again! I know I didn't have to sort of sing that, but I'm trying to keep myself in a positive mood, all things considered. So, my Columbus Swoo, as we talk about the Pokemon Trainer Grand Tournament, because that's what this video's about. Yeah, we're off to a great start already, aren't we? Anyway, the PTGT, my Columbus Swoo are 2-0 to start the season, and we've been doing pretty well for ourselves so far. But it's not gonna get any easier, especially this week, because we are having an early season battle of the unbeatens against a fellow 2-0 team, the Lacunosa Lucarios, coached by Bren. Now, one of Bren's wins, his win last week actually, similar to the Dallas Starlies, was a forfeit win over the same team actually, the Tampa Bay Tapu Cocos, I think. I mean, that name kind of doesn't necessarily matter anymore because of the fact that I believe Sparky and that team have dropped from the league. They are being replaced, but I'll cover that one more in depth once we get to the week we actually play them. The Annapolis Absols have also since dropped from the league. Arcanite, it wanted to focus more on the PMU, which I guess he's part of, which a fellow Ion Pokemon League member and somewhat buddy of mine. I say somewhat just because he and I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call us friends yet, but we could get there one day. Tesla Mouse, I know he's in that draft format league. I guess Arcanite's in it as well, and he, even though he's still running the PTGT, he kind of dropped out from being an active player. Anyway, that's just extra stuff aside. What you guys want to focus on is this. Obviously, that's why you're watching this video. So the Lacunosa Lucarios, you can see their team off to the side, and that's a mighty threatening team, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm gonna tell you guys straight up, this team terrifies me. I know, like the Dallas Starlies in our game last week, they got a forfeit win last week, so that's a free 3-0 right there. But in week 1, they actually pulled off a 6-0 victory, courtesy of Suicune, that middle UU pick you see there. So, yeah, I really had to prep for that thing, but I did my best to blanket prep to prepare especially for Suicune, since it seems like he would probably bring it, but also to try to prep for as many things as possible. This was a really rough team prep, I am not going to lie, because of what he's packing. I mean, his OU picks, Mega Altaria, that thing is just a nightmare to deal with on all fronts. It could be a special set, it could be physical with Dragon Dance, with Pixelate it's gonna hit you incredibly hard with a Fairy type stab that was once a normal type move. Landorus Therian is also kind of a mixed bag. It could be an offensive set, it could be a defensive set. Instead of Stealth Rocks, he could Scarf it. I kind of prep for a Scarf set personally, but if I could deal with a Scarf set, I can probably deal with everything else, just because without the Scarf, I have quite a few things on my team that are capable of outspeeding Landorus Therian. But I still have to try to deduce what kind of set it is early on to know how to deal with it. Gengar, I mean, that's just a fast, powerful special attacker and a ghost type for spin blocking purposes, so not much more really needs to be said there. His UU picks, I already mentioned Suicune, which is a nightmare to take down no matter where you're playing it, draft format or just in general, because, I mean, this thing is a well-balanced beast, with the exception of its attack stat, but you don't use it for attack, do you? You probably use it for its special attacks, just to set up Calm Minds, tank hits, probably rest off all the damage. Yeah, Suicune's a problem. Reuniclus, obviously, another bulky tank that can just take hits, set up Calm Minds, fire off. Basically, it does the same things that Suicune can. Would he double up on him? It's possible, because they run two entirely different sets, being how they offensively approach things. Suicune obviously with water and ice type attacks. Reuniclus more with Psychic Stab and, well, the things Psychic types would generally carry, like Focus Blast for fighting in dark, Steel and dark types. maybe a Shadow Ball. It could be packing Energy Ball too. He could even run a Trick Room set, which, honestly, he would probably bring some of his slower stuff if that were the case. Mineshout, he actually originally had Conkeldurr in that spot, but he switched it out for Mineshout, which might be the better option, because while Conkeldurr has some options it can run and generally hits like a truck, Mineshout's a lot faster than Conkeldurr, needless to say, and can hit just as hard. Jolteon, down in his RU picks, I actually used that as part of my Olivine Beacons in the Grand Pokemon League, so I'm quite familiar with it, even though I barely used it. I probably could have used it more. Ridiculously fast, hits pretty hard from the special side. He's got his Cavalier, which is yet another tank. He can dish out physical hits, can tank hits, can definitely rock an Assault Vest very well, or he could run a Bandit, especially under a Trick Room set. Sorry about that. And of course, I have Mega Absol. This is where regular Absol ended up. So that's kind of interesting that I am facing the non-Mega version of pretty much my team's all-star right now, to put it bluntly. There was also Miltank down in his NU picks. Miltank, well, it lives up to its name. It's a tank. I know, it gave everybody who's ever played Gen 2 and the Gen 4 remakes nightmares because of Whitney. It can take hits, it can status, it can heal itself with Milk Drink, it can paralyze you with Body Slam, it can do quite a few things to disrupt your team. Magmortar, hard special attacker, and I especially, with some of my more threatening physical attackers, need to be wary if this thing packs Flame Body, which I could see it doing. I could see Bren doing that, just because I really don't have anything on my team that necessarily would want to start putting things to sleep. So in that regard, Vital Spirit kind of seems a little pointless to run, so he'd probably go Flame Body. I mean, you could Scarf it, you could give it Specs, you could even Assault Vest it, so it could take some special hits. Simisage, I honestly don't think he's gonna bring it. Part of me feels like that's a throwaway pick, but I mean, if he sees a reason to bring it, he'll probably bring it. I mean, it's kind of fast, it can hit kind of hard, but honestly, looking at his team, he's got far more threatening things, especially against my team, than Simisage. If he brings Simisage just to completely throw me off, then if it works, good on him. But we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. So, this is what I decided to throw together for my team this week. Fun fact, we are actually going to be playing this game not on Pokemon Showdown. He and I actually agreed, since I did throw this out there, and he is the first to oblige to it. We are actually going to be playing this game on Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire over Wi-Fi Battle. This is also all being done on Monday, the same day my Dallas Starly's battle video actually went up. So, it's a bit of a mad scramble for me, and you might think that's a little unfair to me because I was kind of put on a bit short notice and had to throw a team together in a couple hours, but honestly, a couple hours is all I need, and I mean, he's competing in a championship game for another league, and I didn't want to conflict with that, because obviously a championship game is more important than a standard league one, but obviously he wants to do well in both. The championship game because it's a championship, and in this one because obviously him going 3-0 would definitely benefit his chances of trying to get to the PTGT championship. But of course, I have something to say about that because I want to keep my momentum going as well. I would love to be 3-0, and I would love to keep making my case as to why this isn't exactly the case of beginner's luck. This is me actually doing kind of well in the draft format, especially basically with a whole new slew of people who have never seen me play before, for the most part. So let's go over my team and what I think will be able to deal with what he's bringing to the table. Starting with the Fool, my Ditto. Obviously, like I said in week 1, the spread's kind of, the moves and the EV spread is kind of irrelevant because this thing's main purpose is to go in, copy something with Imposter, and then abuse its Choice Scarf. Basically, the main reason I decided to bring the Fool this week for a number of reasons. I thought it was necessary for a handful of reasons. Number one, I need to scout a couple sets to know how I want to deal with them. Not so much the Suicune set. I was planning on scouting Suicune had I decided to bring Cradily, but ultimately I decided bringing Cradily just for the Suicune wasn't probably my best option. And I found a few other ways I can try to deal with the Suicune. But, I mean, knowing at least in advance if he's going like a traditional Crocoon set, or if he's going completely offensive or anything, that might help. I definitely want to scout that Landorus set, because just by seeing his moveset, I can definitely judge if it's more offensive or defensive. And from there, I will have to figure out, just from what this thing does and doesn't outspeed, if it is a more offensive set, if it's a Scarf set, or if he's just running straight offensive power to try to put a dent in my team. Basically, figuring out what set that Landorus is early on is going to be a huge benefit to me. The IVs are there to basically give me Hidden Power Ice if I copy anything that gives me Hidden Power. I originally was thinking about doing Hidden Power Grass, but that would really only deal with Suicune. Hidden Power Ice at least gives me an option to hit Mega Altaria and Landorus Therian, which are honestly just as big a threat as his Suicune is. His Suicune was definitely his all-star so far with that 6-0 it pulled off in Week 1, but I have ways of dealing with Suicune, and the Fool would definitely be best suited for dealing with other things. Probably the biggest reason I brought the Fool is because of said other things. Because it keeps Mega Altaria, if he's bringing a physically offensive Mega Altaria, it basically deters that thing from setting up Dragon Dances, because there is nothing stopping me from bringing the Fool in, stealing those boosts, and then abusing the Choice Scarf to basically wreck shop on his team. To some extent, depending on what he's packing, it might deter not so much Suicune, but Reuniclus definitely from setting up Calm Minds, and maybe to some extent it might even deter that Absol of his from setting up a Sword Stance if he's going to run an SD set, like I have done pretty much so far with my Mega Absol. And if he's got something to hit my Mega Absol with on it, then, well, I can now have a second Absol to be able to strike back at it. Probably not the best option, because, I mean, that's partially what Mega Absol is for, and I'll get to that in a moment since you see it up there. But, I mean, if it works, it works. It all depends on the situation at hand, and mostly it's there to scout sets and try to deter some of his setup sweepers, especially Mega Altaria if he goes... He might go especially offensive just because of the potential Ditto. And in that case, I actually do have answers for a special Mega Altaria. But the Fool definitely is not something a physical one wants to contend with. Moving on, we have the PTGT debut of Leechgrave, Mycophagragus. I was originally going to call this thing Amasis. I know that is a pharaoh's name, but it was actually more after the Chikara wrestler. But ultimately, just because of what it resembles, I decided to nickname it after probably my favorite... I nicknamed it after a Kingdom Hearts enemy, a Heartless boss from Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2 that is probably my favorite Heartless in terms of design, but definitely one of my most hated Heartless to fight. And even though it's not exactly leeching off things per se, I think the name Leechgrave definitely fits because in addition to kind of looking like it, Cophagragus definitely is a pain in the ass to deal with to some extent, and I think it's actually going to serve me quite well in this game, all things considered. I'm going max physical defense. Maybe it's a mistake running only 8 special defense EVs, but with the HP investment, I can actually, to some extent, deal with the things I need to. I'm not necessarily going to be dealing with Gengar too well unless he brings Reuniclus and Trick Rooms, which in that case, bringing Gengar would probably be a bit of a confusing play, honestly, if you ask me. But maybe I can catch it on the way in. I'm running Leftovers on it. Mummy would, if anything hits me physically, removing that ability and replacing it with Mummy would definitely be a benefit. And that's where the physical defense definitely helps, because if I can remove Pixelate from Mega Altaria or Magic Guard from Reuniclus, well, that one might not be so likely to happen, but quite a few things could definitely benefit from having their abilities removed from them, let's say that. Kind of going relatively standard-ish here, sort of. Will-O-Wisp to burn his physical attackers, especially since he doesn't... well, Suicune would definitely have Rest, that I know for sure, but I'm not really trying to burn that thing. And Reuniclus, I know, it will probably be attacking Magic Guard, so Will-O-Wisp is kind of useless in that regard. But burning things like his Absol, his Escavalier, his Landorus Therian, his Mega Altaria if he's running a physical set, burning those things benefits my team greatly, and Leechgrave can definitely take the physical hits to be able to burn things. Shadow Ball is there for a relatively decent offensive stab. It will do a lot of damage to Gengar if he switches that in. Reuniclus isn't necessarily going to appreciate taking a Shadow Ball. Pain Split is just my healing option because aside from Leftovers, poor Leechgrave doesn't really have much in the way of healing. Probably the most important move on this set, however, besides Will-O-Wisp for his physical attackers, is Haze. Because Haze removes all status changes, all stat changes. And this thing is basically what I'm hoping is going to be my answer to his Suicune if he brings that thing in. Well, if he runs a Calm Mind set at the very least. Because if I let that thing set up Calm Minds on me, then I've got I'm in potential trouble, especially if he's a Crocoon set. By packing Haze and using it before he gets too many boosts set up, I'm basically burning his Calm Mind PP at that point. And without Calm Minds, that Suicune is a lot more manageable for my team. So that's the main reason I'm bringing Leechgrave this week. Just a Haze to get rid of any Calm Mind boost from Suicune. Also Calm Mind boost from Reuniclus. A Sword Stance from Absol, even though I kind of really don't want to leave this thing in on Absol at all. Dragon Dance boost from Mega Altaria, especially if he's going physical attacker. So that's basically Leechgrave's purpose here. After a surprisingly impressive week last week, Self High 5 had to come back this week. And even though the EVs are kind of standard-ish, I'm running a bit of an interesting set this week. And I have my reason for it. As you can see, I decided to forego a Life Orb and instead run Choice Band on my Ambipom this week. Switcheroo, Return, U-Turn, and Knockoff are my moves. Return because with a Choice Band... Well, here's the thing. Between Return and Knockoff, especially Return because it's Stab, with a Choice Band, Self High 5 can actually one-shot a good chunk of his team with the extra power from Choice Band between Return and Knockoff. Knockoff especially for the Ghost type, well, his Gengar obviously. Reuniclus certainly doesn't want to take a banded Knockoff from this thing. And obviously getting rid of items is definitely beneficial on quite a few of his Mons. U-Turn is there just because it being Choice, I want to be able to use Ambipom and its natural speed to be able to get some scouting done, hit something decently hard with a U-Turn, and then go into something more manageable. Switcheroo, honestly the main reason I decided to run this particular set, I'll admit, is mostly because of the Suicune. It can work on Reuniclus too, but it's mostly for Suicune. Because if he does not expect it and thinks he can just sit in there, I'll withdraw Ambipom out of fear of it going down, and he starts trying to Calm Mind up, if I put a Choice Band on that thing, which benefits Suicune in no way, because physical Suicune isn't necessarily something you really see people run. If he somehow runs one predicting that, then I will actually be impressed, but that's a pretty random prediction to make, in all honesty. But if I can use Switcheroo to get this Choice Band on that Suicune, then for the most part that Suicune is crippled, because he can't Calm Mind. Well, he can, but he'd be locked into it, so Calm Minding is kind of off the table. If he's a Crocoon set, then he can rest to heal up, but he can't really do much beyond that. He's basically kind of forced to attack, and from there, honestly, I could actually probably just go into... Well, it's not as easy... it's easier to manage, basically. I don't have things that would appreciate getting Scald Burn, and I have some things that kind of don't want to take a Scald, in general. But honestly... limiting and completely taking away the usefulness of that Suicune is probably my best answer to it in hindsight. Will it work? We'll find out. Tough Tuss is going to be coming along again this week, and I'm just running a straight-up defensive set this week with leftovers to heal. There's my 2 leftovers users this week, so there you see my max of 2 items. Max HP, max defense, a little bit of attack investment. Just running the standard Earthquake, Rapid Spin, Stealth Rock, and Knockoff. Getting up my rocks as soon as possible is going to be especially important in this game, because if you look closely, you can see that he really doesn't have anything to remove hazard. I don't see he certainly doesn't have a Rapid Spinner, and I'm not seeing a Defogger on his team. So getting Stealth Rocks up is going to be very important in this game for wearing down his team as a whole. Especially since Altaria is going to take 25% before it Mega Evolves, if I can get the rocks up before then. Reuniclus isn't affected, but that's probably the only thing. Landorus isn't really going to appreciate rocks, especially if he's a Scarf set and keeps U-turning on me. Jolteon's certainly not going to appreciate it, neither is Magmortar. Basically, he's not going to like me getting rocks up, and with Sturdy, I'm pretty much guaranteed to get rocks up. So, that's Donphan's main role this week, is get rocks up to basically help the team as a whole. Knockoff will definitely hurt a lot of things. Gengar and Reuniclus, again, do not want to deal with it. And, again, getting rid of items is crucial. Earthquake will hit a couple things pretty hard. Obviously, there's some things I can't touch with it, but they're better handled in other ways. And, obviously, Rapid Spin is to keep his Landorus Therian. And I think that's actually his only... Well, no, and his Miltank. Miltank can do it, too. I almost forgot about that. That's kind of an obscure fact, but it is the truth. To keep rocks off my side of the field, so I have a much easier time managing all of his threats. My last 2 Mons I was kind of really iffy on, because it was hard for me to really figure out what I wanted to bring that could really deal with his team, which seems to be a recurring problem lately when I try to prep. But I decided ultimately to bring Vinny Vidi Vici, mostly because I really needed a Fire-type move to be able to answer that Escavalier. But honestly, Vinny Vidi Vici's got the coverage to be able to manage this. I decided to go with a special attacking expert belt set this week. Max special attack with a modest nature, max speed. I mean, it can outspeed a lot of things on his team, but there's also a bunch of things that doesn't necessarily outspeed, and honestly, even going a timid nature isn't going to change that. I can potentially outspeed the Landorus Therian, but that's assuming it's not Scarfed and he doesn't, well, he would have to basically not Scarf it for me to outspeed it, even if I did go timid nature. Blue Flare, Thunder, Glaciate, and Dazzling Gleam is the coverage I decided to cover his team. Blue Flare honestly hits a lot of things ridiculously hard. So, not just wiping Escavalier, not Ass-Cavalier, off the face of the planet. Simisage certainly doesn't want to take it either. Thunder is there mostly for Suicune. I know it might seem obvious, especially with that Jolteon running around if he brings that, but Thunder would actually, especially since if he's gonna Calm Mind up, he'd probably be more prone to investing everything into defense. So Thunder would actually hit harder than Volt Strike in the long run, which is the main reason I decided to go with the special set instead. And a lot of his things actually get hit harder on the special side, at least. Especially things that are more... Especially his Calm Mind Sweepers, honestly. Glaciate is there to slow things to slow down his faster threats, and also decimate Landorus Therian, depending on what set he runs, if I can catch it on this way in, or if I just outspeed it in general. And while Glaciate also does a number on Mega Altaria, I put Dazzling Gleam on there specifically for it, just because Dazzling Gleam hits a lot harder than pretty much anything else I have access to. I contemplated Shadow Ball for Reuniclus and Gengar, but honestly, Gengar's already one-shot by Blue Flare, and Reuniclus, Blue Flare actually does just a tiny bit more than Shadow Ball does. So if that's the case, I honestly don't think Shadow Ball is really necessary. So that's why Dazzling Gleam is there. It's mostly for Mega Altaria, but Mega Altaria is not going to appreciate it. And if he's not running a physical set and therefore has access to... If he's running a special set, then Victini would enjoy basically dancing with Mega Altaria. Because Mega Altaria is certainly not going to really be able to actually do a whole lot to Veni Vidi Vici unless he brings Earthquake on top of it. Which, even then, if he's more specially oriented, I think Veni Vidi Vici should be able to take it. And lastly, for no other reason than it, like with last week, it kind of puts in just enough work to be able to put dents in things for the rest of my team to kind of try to clean up later. I decided to bring Fallen Angel, and I'm running the same set I brought week 1. Swords Dance, Knockoff, Sucker Punch, and Play Rough, max attack, max speed, and a little bit of special defense investment. I was debating for the longest time whether or not to go for Play Rough or Fire Blast. I could have gone Superpower too, but honestly, in this particular game, Superpower and Play Rough kind of serve the same-ish purposes. Superpower might be the better option if he brings Miltank, but I think I can wear Miltank down enough anyway with all my other stuff, and honestly, if Body Slam is the only offensive move he's actually going to run on it, if he does bring it, then Leechgrave just laughs at Miltank all day, to some extent. But ultimately, I felt if I'm bringing Victini, then I've got a Fire-type answer for his Cavalier if he brings it. So I should probably just go for Play Rough to be able to smack his own Absol upside the head pretty hard. And, I mean, Play Rough also does a number on Mega Altaria as well. If I can get a Sword Stance up before it comes in, and then proceed to wipe it out before it starts getting any Dragon Dances up if he's the physically offensive set. So, once again, I kind of ended up going on a little too long with my team prep as I looked down at my timer, but I will find a better way to try to manage this in the future. I just have a bad habit of trying to very thoroughly explain myself on this. But I gotta go get my team ready for this game, especially since we're doing it on Wi-Fi. We are playing roughly about an hour from now, actually. So I better go get ready. That is my team. Hopefully it works out. Fingers crossed. I think we can pull it off. It's just a matter of what he brings and deducing what sets a lot of his mons are early enough so I can start planning around them. So that said, thank you guys so very much for watching. I have been Ruppy, and my Columbus Swoo and I will be seeing you later for our Week 3 game with the Lacunosa Lucarios. Here's to hoping we are the ones that stay undefeated at the end of it all. I will see you guys then. Take care.